So yesterday we introduced how to use Python with SQL to create tables and see, like, insert data into your Postgres database by running a Python script that has multiple methods to clean the data. Let's just go to where'd it go? So we have the city of Chicago. In this challenge, we're going to grab live data sets from the city of Chicago, parse through the columns, clean the data as it comes in. So we have to clean the data as it comes in. So we're going to create a method that's going to only grab the necessary data that we want from the CSV and parse it and manipulate it and then insert it into the database in the correct data types that are required for that specific table. So really zero, get the data. And if you got to the querying part, it is kind of depressing looking at some of the data. We're going to export the data. We're going to export it as a CSV file. It's going to come over here. And yep. First, I'm going to clone this repo. So I'm going to git clone. And I've got the city of Chicago right here. So cd city of Chicago, ls, clear, ls. So I've got the Chicago queries file, and I got a Chicago Python file. Let's just open up the Chicago code, Chicago Python. There we go. Oh, our code goes here. Cool. And now what I'm going to do is actually go into my downloads folder and drag it into my City of Chicago file. So what I did is just literally click and drag, and you can drag files into the desired repository. So if I click ls, so now I've got this current employee's name, salary, position, title, and that's a long name for this file. I don't like that. I'm gonna rename it to Chicago employee salaries, whatever. Does that work? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And in here, I don't like the way the headers are. If you want to, you can also go ahead and manipulate that, but it's not necessary. Like, you can clean, like, manually clean, like, the data of the headers of the column if you want to. So let's go back to the challenge. So we need to create a database on our computer called Chicago Salaries using the Postgres command using Psycopg2, which we went over yesterday. Create an employees table with the following columns: first name, last name, job title, full or part-time, department, and then the annual salary. So let's just look at our data real quick. So notice how we have a name, job, titles, department, full or part-time, salary or hourly, typical hours, annual salary, hourly rate. So the columns in the CSV file don't align with the columns that are going to be in our database. So we have to grab this data, manipulate it, quote, clean it, and insert it into our database. It's right here. Read from the CSV file with Python, iterate over each row, clean the data, and then insert the cleaned record into the database.
First time we actually have to create our database.
Yep. So let's create a database. I've actually may have already created it, but let me see. Yeah, I did. Okay, first things first, let's create a database called, what does it say? Is there anything that say specifically what we want to call our, called Chicago salaries. Create DB, you should be familiar with how to create a database. Create it. All right, nothing blew up, sounds good. I'm gonna clear. And then PSQL, Chicago. That's not right. Salaries. \D. It's gonna see what tables exist in the overall schema of our database. I didn't find any relations. So from yesterday, using Psycopg2, what do I need to import, John?
You need to import OS. I know we did
Import
that.
OS. What's the OS gonna be used for? What's it?
Getting the yeah, I don't remember.
We'll get there. Okay. What else? What else do we need?
We need to import CSV.
CSV.
To import Psycopg2.
Sweet. And import Psycopg2.
3 or 2, whichever one. 2. 2.
So let's go back and look at Psycopg. Let's look at the documentation. Basic module. So first we want to connect to an existing database. So I'm just going to bring this in here and just like using connection. So what's our test database or our actual database? Chicago salaries. And right here, what do I need to do to
Name the computer.
So I use string interpolation. This is where the OS dot to get login. So this is establishing a connection to the Chicago salaries database. But before we even do that, let's grab the data from a CSV. What is it with open?
Yeah,
With open.
parentheses, then the path name.
So it'd be, what's the name of that? I'm down here in the terminal. I need the name of that file or like the path name. And since I dragged it and dropped it into right here, into the actual directory, all I need is this. Is that right? And what are we doing with this? R.
Is there a benefit to saying mode equals? Yeah.
Did anybody encounter an encoding error when they tried to read their data? Where like it appended some random letters in the beginning of the string, like in the beginning of like the name, when you read from the file, it was like \FF something Q. Did anybody encounter that? Maybe we will now, hopefully.
Did you go across?
Maybe, maybe not.
Was it because there was a W being used?
No, it wasn't because it was just, anyway, if you encounter the error, maybe we'll
I just
encounter
don't
it.
want to have that happen this weekend.
I was just-
Okay. How do I fix this?
But I'll cover it, like how to fix that. So as CSV file,
We can call it whatever we want.
Yeah, let's Chicago
As salaries.
as salaries. Now, what's next? How do we read from a CSV? CSV. CSV. Okay. Cool. Now we want to loop. So we got the CSV file.
And I don't do that row.
So now we're gonna loop through the CSV file one row at a time, and let's just print the row. Let's just make sure that we're getting the data. Let's do baby steps. I noticed a lot of people yesterday just imported everything and like kind of copied and pasted the code, and just kept on running, and then they were getting errors, and they slowly had to essentially like comment out code and like find where the error was at. Yeah.
So you could put an embed there if you import it.
Right. For row in CSV reader, I should have print row.
The problem with putting an embed inside the for loop is that
You gotta do it
you're going to be like 33,000 embeds that you're going to have to go through before you can exit your program.
So, yeah, I just want to make sure we're grabbing the data with this print row. So, no, I don't need the. I'm not connecting to the database. I'm just reading from the CSV file. So I'm commenting this out because I don't want to actually do anything with the database test. Yeah, and in actuality, that's going to be the last thing we need to do. Because the last thing we need to do is insert it into our database. So Python Chicago.py. Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got. So we have a name. A name looks like it consists of last name, first name. Yeah, interesting. So let's clean this data. What should we? How do we? What's like the best, most efficient way? We want to do like. How do we want our code? When we're writing code, we want to break down instructions into methods. Correct. And we want to break them down. Essentially, each individual instruction should. If you want to break down complex systems into smaller methods. So instead of doing all this within here, we're going to create a method. John is right. Clean data. It's going to accept, CSV row. And now this is where we're going to want, I'm going to copy this because this is what we're going to eventually, this cleaned data is going to be in a format that is capable of being put into our database. Oh, geez. Now, do you think we should clean this data first or should we create the table first? What do you guys want to do? Want to create the table first? All right. So before we get into this clean data, we're going to go ahead and create our table first. So again, this script is going to clean the data. It's going to create a table and everything. So what's the first step into creating a table?
You got to create a cursor.
Okay. Connection. I'm jumping around here a little bit. Connection. I'm going to look at the documentation. Create a cursor. Execute a command. So connection. Cursor. Now this is, now we can do cursor.execute to actually execute a table. So I'm just going to leave this here. But you want to break down these steps into methods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything should essentially be a method or a variable, but break these down into methods. What is that? Table creation query. Doesn't take in any parameters. It's going to return a string. What is the string?
It's the create table SQL logic.
Just essentially just a SQL query.
We're returning a string which is literal SQL code.
It is literally.
Yeah, it's just a string, but the string happens to be able to be converted into a SQL code or a SQL query. So create.
You want to start with dropping a table.
Okay, but the table hasn't been created yet. We can do that when we get to it. So create. What's the query to create a table?
Employees.
Is that the name of? What does it say? That employees.
And you can't change the name of it.
Don't forget your semicolon on the end.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we need an ID, serial primary key. First, let me look down here and see this stuff. So first name, last name. I'm just gonna literally. Gosh. Oh my God, what is going on? Damn hotkeys. First name, bar car, 255, not null. So all this is essentially kind of the same, right?
Yeah. Forget your comments.
Ooh, gotta love those commas.
And the full type part of the list only has one character as P or F, so we need 255. It's only one character.
It's like one. It's either F or null.
It's F or P.
F or P.
Yeah.
Department. Just do 100. Salary. What should be the salary?
Numeric.
Numeric.
Numeric and
Can it be just like an integer?
Yeah.
No, because they if you look at the data in your
It has
decimal.
Is there any actual
Sense.
sense?
They are. Oh no, not that one. But you will end up with it because.
But this is the like we can clean the data to maybe round it.
You could do that, but you also have people who are at hourly rates that we have to calculate, and their hourly rate does have sense, and whenever you multiply it by the hours. I mean, yeah, but you could just round it up.
So that there aren't any like hard requirements of how like, the data should
Yeah.
be. So what did you do?
I did the numeric to precision of 10.
What?
And then scale of 2.
Like that?
Yeah, just another bear. And not numeric.
Interesting.
Not numeric.
Oh,
Numeric.
I'm
Number.
Numbering the president.
Sounds like some drug.
Yeah.
I see your doctor out there.
So if I want, so I'm gonna just drop this data. I'm gonna create Chicago, or is it called employees? All right. So I'm down here, got the CSV working, can execute. So now I need to execute these commands. So that's, where should I execute these at?
Well, you would have to place the execute. Well, you have to place the execute below where you actually define them. Otherwise,
Should put it here. Execute. Now cursor. Execute. Let's execute the drop table first. And then how do I run the table, like to create a table? Do I just execute this? Drop table, execute table.
when you're writing scripts like this, is it better? Is there a preference for creating them as variables or functions that return a string? Is there a preference to go one way or the other with that?
I don't know if there's actually a preference or not. I think it's just personal preference.
Okay. I mean, functionally, they work exactly the same.
Yeah.
I guess it would probably just depend on whether or not you wanted to have everything contained within functions or whether you were actually running raw code.
Yeah. Create table. Just do some notes or execute. And making. There we go. Now, after I'm done creating and executing queries, what's the last thing I need to do? Is it? Let's look at the cursor. Oh, connection and commit. Connection.commit, then cursor.close. And connection.close.
Cursor is and a curse.
Thank you. So let's run that. Why is that like that?
I had this. You don't have anything under your
because you have
function
nothing in your
mode.
clean data function, so 6 waiting.
Oh,
If you go up your clean data, you have an empty block. It's wait expecting that there's something in your clean data.
thank you. Oh,
And you're still in your with open, and you're not doing anything in your for loop.
thank you. Let's clear that. Let's run this. Actually, create some table. Let the table. Oh snap! Let's test it. Was it employees? No.
Chicago salary.
All right. Now, there we go. ID, first name, job title, numeric, 2. Employees is probably awesome. Now let's go back. Now I'm actually gonna comment these out because I don't need them right now. I'm just gonna focus on cleaning the data right here. And in here, we'll need to write like cleaned data equals cleaned data, because I want to invoke. I'm going to assign this. This is going to essentially be return. Jeez. I don't need this here anymore. I don't need this anymore. Do I need this anymore? Nope. Oh yeah, that's actually.
Like, because you don't use it anyway.
Right.
So we just find it.
Okay. I'm just going to print CSV row. So what's going on? I'm grabbing the data from the CSV. I'm looping through each row. I'm calling this cleaned row method. I'm passing in the row. And then I'm printing each row. So I just want to make sure I'm at that point and it's going to work. All right. That works. So we're off. So where are we at? I'm going to go back to the challenge. I need to grab the first name. So I need to create a dictionary that contains these keys, and the key represents the column name of the database. Because when we actually go to insert the data, make a query inserting the data, we'll be using the keyword for the column and then whatever that value is. So let's get the first name down. So I cleaned. I'm just going to assign create a dictionary right away. Now I'm trying to think, like, should I just print the name? I just want to see what the name, how the name comes through.
Okay.
So I'm grabbing the CSV row, which is a dictionary, and I have to look at. It's a capital name.
It is just capital name. We could use
So I've got the name. I need the job title. What's the job title? What does that come through? What does that look like?
job title.
Space.
It's the same thing.
Oh, it's job titles.
Yeah.
Job. Space titles.
Where am I at? Job titles. Full or part-time?
It's full.
Full or part-time? What's the last one? Department. That's pretty straightforward. What was the last one? Annual salary. I can't really, there's an annual salary here. Let's see what that looks like. All right, I'm going to run the function again, run this file again, and it should be printing out the values at all those columns that I decided to grab. Because right now I'm not grabbing like salary or hourly, not grabbing typical hours, not grabbing the hourly rate yet. So let's run that. I just want to see like what that data looks like. Interrupted it. So where's the name at? Got Bard Chris J. He's a police officer. is full-time department.
How did you interrupt it? Just hit enter?
Control C. And then I've got annual salary. And I guess I'm still printing something down here. Oh no. What am I printing the row at? Oh,
Printing revenue.
sorry. I don't need this print statement anymore. Then we have a space here. Why is there a space right here?
It's
part-time.
part-time.
Yeah,
and
so
then-
it's not annual salary, it's hourly.
Interesting. So looking through the data.
This basically that.
Okay. All right, let's just try to get the name first. So looks like the syntax or the order goes last name, comma, space, first name. And do they all have middle initials? Tiffany. Not all of them. So I want to create a clean, I'm going to create a new key in our database, or in this dictionary, first name. Oh. Before I even do that, I'm going to comment that out. I just want to get the first name. How do I grab the first name and last name?
Splits.
Last name. So how, so it'd be like CSV row, bracket name, dot split. What is that?
Quotations and then a comma.
Well, depends on what you
Well,
want.
you can do that in one line, because if last name's first, you can put last name before first name, comma, space, first name, and split. You do quotes, comma, and space. So it'll give the first portion of the split to last name, which is the way it is in the CSV file, and then first name to the next one.
So I'm just going to print what the split is. Print name. I don't need this anymore, but I will utilize. So I'm going to print the name when it's split. Run that again. Interrupt it. Okay, I've got an array where it looks like the last name is in the first, or at index 0, and the first name is at index 1. Is that pretty consistent down the line? Oh, we have an L, Tanya, so it's odd. That's interesting. You have a junior,
And it's also keeping the comma in the end of the last name.
and Ethan pointed out that the comma is staying in the last name.
In some cases. In some cases.
In some cases.
Not because it seems like it's splitting it every time it encounters a space, and if somebody has a space in or another
In their last
white
name.
space character as part of their last name before the comma, then we're
Interesting.
not capturing the entire last name.
So is there a way to,
Well, split I think takes an argument.
what's the argument that split can take?
The argument takes a delimiter, which is what character you want it to split when it encounters,
Like that?
or what character or string of characters.
String of characters. Interesting.
So
Like that? That's like a,
yeah, if you do it like that,
let's run that. Let's see what happens. So, great. So it looks like we're only getting an array with the first or the last name, comma, first name. But it looks like the first name might have some spaces in it. Does that matter? I don't know. Okay, so we have a name. Let's do first name equals name at index 1. And last name is at index 0.
if you wanted to get rid of that space, you have to figure out what. Like, if you actually look at the CSV, does it have any spaces? It has 2 spaces.
Interesting. Oh, so if we did another space,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna run this. Well, I'm gonna print first name, last name. So I'm doing some string interpolation. I'm printing the first name and last name. I added another space onto the split because looking at the actual data, it looks like there's 2 spaces here. Let's see what returns. Clearing. Running this Python file. Ooh, that looks nice. But
In their name variable, when we split, it will give it automatically to the first index, whatever you put. So you can put last name instead of the name variable, last name, comma, first name. So it'll automatically give it to the first portion, the first index set to last name as a variable.
On line 26, if you just put first
Right there.
bracket name.
No, last name first.
name,
Last name
last
first.
name.
last name,
It'll, and then
comma, first name.
and you
And then
it'll
you can get
automatically
rid
give
of line
it.
27 and 28.
It'll automatically give it to it 0. And then
So this syntax is assigning 2 variables, last name, first name, and automatically the first variable that's assigned is assigned to the first index.
yeah, I'll go to the first index and then the next one following as it goes.
Print it out. If you didn't do that, that's fine.
So dumb.
All right, first name, last, that's awesome.
I figured that out like a couple months ago.
So that's a way to like go back and refactor and optimize, just cleaning up the code.
Improve readability.
You would think that's improved readability?
This is improved readability.
It's also nice to know that that will actually act in that fashion.
So now let's assign our first cleaned data, or no, cleaned, is it first name? Equals first name, last name. Now I'm just gonna print clean so far to see what that looks like. So I'm assigning a new keyword, first name, to the clean dictionary, and the value of that is the first name and last name variables that come from the name from our employees, this value that's split at the comma and where there's 2 spaces.
You might need to change it.
Where's that?
Your credit screen data is clean.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to run this. First name. So I've got a dictionary with first name, last name. That's great because our columns in the database, we have first name, last name. Why don't we add an ID? Like, why can't we?
We should.
We're-
It should because we may be reading in multiple databases into our thing. We want our database itself to automatically generate that. That's how we created that.
Yeah, because the primary key, well, we want, just Ethan said, the data can come from multiple different sources, different data sets, and we want the table itself to assign the key instead of inserting our own key, essentially.
Because thinking about this, right now we're only dealing with the list of public employees. What if we want to expand it at some point to include other private companies and figure out across everybody who works in the city of Chicago? Assuming we could get access to that data.
All right.
Not every company would be willing to give us that data, but
Remote team, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Any questions? What questions do you have up to this point?
So I
blipped out for a minute there, just kind of spacing out. So on your first names, it looks like there's still middle initials attached to it.
Jacob O, John C. Okay. Let's get rid of that.
It's just a discussion as to whether or not
Yeah.
it's relevant.
Yeah, it depends. Since it's technically not the first name, let's go ahead and get rid of it.
You can split again.
Can I just do?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what I did, David. I split again.
You split again?
Because you might have a single initial, you might also have
Double.
Yeah.
it.
Base.
Oh yeah.
or a middle name.
Do they all? Yep. No. So
And just by doing it that way, then you'd be chopping off, if in cases where it doesn't have it, you'd be chopping off two.
right. So like Thomas would just be
Oh,
Thom. All right. So
Do you need the spin off? Because when the middle initial, a lot of databases consider that.
no. Do split. Let's just try to do this. So split
and then you bracket 0.
On the space.
bracket 0. So we're splitting it bracket 0. So for the ones that only have like Thomas, we're turning that into an array. Then we're just grabbing it at index 0. Run that again. Don't you love this stuff? Ooh. Yes. Looks kind of good.
So can you explain that to me again? You said that you're splitting and then you're grabbing it at index 0?
Yes. So let's.
Even if there is no middle initial, it won't eliminate in the
So if we're splitting it, that means wherever there's a space,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to turn it into an array with the first part of the name at index 0 and the second part of the name at index 1. So it's essentially just turning it into an array. This is an array right here.
Okay, and then putting the index out beside it.
Yeah, it's always going to be the first one for this specific scenario. Yes.
I haven't gone through the data, and I don't really want to go through it's like 33,000 items. But there are people who have two multiple first names, especially like people with Korean descent.
Okay.
And I don't know like how the database does it, but it might not be hyphenated. Or something like that.
Right.
Or a lot of times, I mean, there might be something I had a friend in high school, David, and you didn't say David, or you didn't say Michael, you said David.
Yeah. So in scenarios like that, those are called edge cases, and you can account for those however you see fit. So just run that again, just to ensure. Great. Clear. All right, let's move on to job titles. Is that the next one? Job title. Is that one? The job title. And how does that come through like this?
I think it's job titles.
Like that?
How did you create the table? What did you put in there?
Job title.
Yeah.
So added another index or key in our index or in our dictionary. Adding the job titles. Let's run this code now. One step at a time, baby steps. First name, Evelyn, last name. What is that?
So you hit your control.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I got stuck for like 3 minutes. I was like, what is that? Job title, police officer assigned as detective. Interesting. My best friend's a detective. It's funny when never mind. We're done with job titles, done with name, full or part-time. Is this the same? Should I clear it? Run it, see what happens. Full-time, full-time. Is there any part-time? So it's just F or P. Didn't throw an error. Good. On to the next one. Making progress. Good job. All right, 2 down. Department. Run it again in the see if department's on there. Business affairs, police. There's a lot of police. There's a public library, budget management. Great. Now let's get down to annual salary. Let's look at annual salary. Note, if an employee is an hourly employee, calculate their annual salary by this equation. Hours per week times hourly salary times 50 weeks in a year. Now, is there a way that we can differentiate between hourly employees?
Isn't there actually 52 weeks in a year?
Yeah, but like, if you get paid, well, yeah, it's like vacation time.
Oh, okay.
And if you're hourly, you may not work every week.
Yeah.
Many hourly employees don't actually get vacation.
Dang it. So, so what I'm going to do, I just want to print the CSV row with the hourly, what that data looks like. So if there's maybe a way we can differentiate between hourly. Oh, what the hell is going on? So we have hourly or salary. So it looks like it's only two, it can be 2 possible values, hourly or salary. That's great. So if it's hourly or if it's salary, so now how do we, here's where like some logic, we're gonna have to do some logic. What's, Dan, what do you think we should do? How do, like, there's only 2 possible scenarios that this value can be salary or hourly. How do we, this first scenario, we just want to, there's first logical step. We want to just grab the employees that are salary.
So if salary,
If,
or is CVS role,
Right.
CSV role,
so if CSV row
salary
equals,
salary equals salary,
say that again,
salary, right?
like that? Let's yeah, let's print this out. So if it comes here and this value equals salary, we should really only get salary workers. That looks nice. So we got, okay. So for, now we want to add this keyword, or I guess this key value into our cleaned dictionary object. Annual salary equals, does it have an annual, like a salary? So right here, annual salary. I use that. All right. Else, should we do an else if or an elif statement or just an else?
You already determined that it's a strictly binary solution set, so.
Once we're doing edge cases, that
Yeah.
should be fine.
Okay. Else, yeah, what if there's a null or,
We need to
Yeah.
clean that
Well,
data
let's
to
say
make it
let's say
restrict all
if
out.
somebody's not getting, if they're neither hourly nor salary, then they're not getting paid, and therefore they wouldn't be on the list of employees.
So right here in this else statement, so should print, let's print everyone that isn't salary. So they should be hourly. And actually, let's print a couple of things. Let's print their hours that they worked, as well as their hourly rate.
Might not be all. Oh, no, that's usually exactly.
Typical hours is what they say.
Typical hours?
Yes.
Sweet. Typical hours. And what else? Hourly rate. Thank you. Dang it. Hours and rate.
You need a comma between your typical hours.
Thank you. Let's go down here. I'm clearing. Run this. So here I should just get the typical hours and the hourly rate of all the hourly employees. Ooh, nice. I like it. It's good. So there is an error up here, but we'll get to it. So now let's just add this clean data. So what's the equation? Hours per week, hours salary, times 50. So we have the typical hours times the CSV hourly rate times 50. At the very end, I'm just going to print the overall cleaned. Oh. Cleaned. So let's print that. So this should have all the data that we need. See what happens. Oh, whoa. What happened? Let's see what happened. Hold on. Trace back, file line 59, coming down here. Clean data. This is where the error is occurring. So it's going back up to 35. So great, it's in this clean data. What's 35? Right here. It says cannot multiply sequence by non-integers of type string. And okay. So
You're trying to store it as the wrong data type.
Nice. Cool point. We're trying to clean it. Great. So how do we convert these into integers?
We want to convert the hours into integers.
Yeah, you can just cast them, I think.
Cast them? I don't know.
Same thing.
Just surround it with the int or float or whatever you're casting it to. Yeah.
And as a general best practice, when dealing with money, with dollars and cents, float is not where you want it to be.
Because it's going to give you.
Because you end up with very small inaccuracies that will frustrate you for hours if you're trying to figure out why it's saying that 1.2 doesn't equal 1.2.
Right.
What was that movie?
All right.
Hackers?
So let's try this one.
The
red swing line.
What about the hourly rate? Hey, can we? Does the hourly rate need to be an integer?
Hourly rate should be.
Yeah, because you can't take a string and multiply it by an integer.
So it should be integer or
Integer.
let's just try integer first.
It'll work. Don't give us any errors, but it won't be absolute.
Oh. Invalid literal.
I kept getting.
Okay.
So you can't convert a decimal directly into a.
Okay. Let's see what that means. I don't know what that means. So let's see. I'm going to delete any things that are specific. Looks like I've encountered this before.
Yeah, everything I saw was about float.
All right. Int base 10, float. Okay. Can we just use float then?
You can't.
Let's try
It's
float.
like
You can. I read the docs, and it does accept decimals too. Python decimals, at least.
Let's try. What is decimal? Let's look it up.
You have to actually put decimal.
No.
Put small t's next to it.
Fixed point, floating point, fixed point. Let's look at the docs. Oh, it looks like and from decimal import.
So you decimal would be cast.
And then what is the quick start tutorial? Geez. So that looked that quick to me. 3.14. So let's import decimal. Or is it from?
From decimal import and save it for all.
No, I didn't.
Can we do that?
That will work.
You just should, and you
Let's
just
try it.
importing a little bit on this stuff.
So I need to do anything specific? Does it just round it automatically to 2 characters or
It
2?
rounds it based off of when casting from a string to a decimal.
Hold.
Hold exactly.
So the decimal, if it's converting it to a string or from a string to a decimal, it'll keep however many elements after the decimal point. So if it was like that, it'll actually keep these. It won't round it or anything like that.
If you do it from a float, it will keep the entire length of it.
Yeah.
Because you cast, for example, 2.14 cast to a decimal, because 2.1 internally is a float, and when you cast it, it gives the whole representation.
Mm.
If 1400 is not a sum of fractions of powers of 2.
Yeah. I used to joke around with my coworkers that 0.99 equaled 1 because that's pretty common when you're working with floats.
Yeah. That's why I use round. You can round to like nearest stuff in math. The round.
Yeah, that's the only.
All right, let's run this, and we're printing out the final dictionary or object that should be capable of being inserted into each column, including the type. So let's run this. First name, last name, police officer, and they're all strings, full-time, department string, annual salary. Still a string. Let's see if we can find the type of this. Type, cleaned.
That's because you're not converting all of that to an actual decimal or anything like that. You're just converting each typical hours and the hourly rate. Still a string.
I think it will show up as.
Yeah, that converts it to a numeric type. I think it's when they're salary employees, it's still a string.
Let's see if. So I got string, decimal, okay. Interesting. So up here,
Decimal.
Now let's run that again. I just want to see the types of the annual salary. Just ensure that they're going to be able to be inserted into our database. There we go. That looks more like it. So delete that, return, clean. That's what we need, right? So I'm down here. I just want to print the clean data down here, just ensure everything went smoothly. Oh, gee. Yeah, thank you. So let's run this again. So it's coming here, getting the CSV file, grabbing all the data from the CSV, looping through each row of the CSV, passing the row into the clean data method that we just created. Oh, sorry, right here. Manipulating the data from the CSV, and grabbing only the data that we need to manipulate, and then returning a new dictionary of the correct clean data. Down here, after it's done that, it should print the clean data row right here. Looks good, looks good, looks good. Now, for the final, now we have to actually insert it into our database. Where are we going to do that? We're going to do it. Where should we insert each row and do this execute? After
Following clean data equals clean data row, right there.
all right, cool. Cursor dot execute. Then here is our query string. That's it right there. So how do we? What's the syntax to insert into a database?
Insert.
Into, is it Chicago or is it employees? Now, grabbing all this, first name. I'm just gonna grab this. First name. Okay. Next is values. This is where we got those stupid S's. Percent S. Oh, what the hell just happened? I did it again. How many times? 6. There we go. Am I missing one?
2, 3, 4, 6.
I only got-
have 5.
Did I miss one?
Hourly or salary.
Salary.
I can't say that.
Or full or part-time.
Salary or hourly, or full or part-time.
Thank you.
It's one of the,
Where does that go? Is that after job title?
doesn't matter.
I like to keep things consistent.
I'm with you, but like, it doesn't, right?
No, because we're considering it as a dictionary.
Yeah.
As long as we reference in our tuple in the correct order.
Mistakes in a tuple,
Yes.
right?
It's just a column names.
So, I don't know.
Well, what is it called when we returned it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What did we call it directly above that when we returned it from the clean?
Cleaned data. Is that right? Let's see. Clean data.
Yep.
First name, last name, job title, full or part-time, department, annual salary. Did I miss something?
Department.
Son of a bee sting.
Nope,
Oh, right here?
Yeah, sure.
Did I hold them?
You pasted it in after values.
Right here. First name.
You pasted it in.
It's
on the side of the
What am I looking at?
after.
screen. Right to line 70.
Line 70. Oh, look at that. That's cute. Think that'll work? Moment of truth. Wise cursor. So let's uncomment our database. Stuff we need for our database.
Tom,
Yep.
so we don't need the ID in the insert.
No. Because the data.
We want the database to create it
Yeah.
for us.
So that's why you didn't include it in the
Yes.
those things.
We can manually add it,
But
but by doing that, we're.
so hopefully we didn't screw anything up, and we'll actually insert everything into our database.
Yes.
It's
working.
Something
It's
happened.
taking a while to this recording. There you go.
Yeah.
And cool. Now, PSQL, was it employees? Oh no, Chicago,
Salaries.
Chicago.
and Chicago. Insert, or sorry, what is it? Select
Select,
all
I would say select count star,
count star, or is it just star?
count star. Because that otherwise you're returning the whole database, this
Yeah.
way you just return a count of how many entries there are.
What is it called? Employees? 33,586.
Because
Awesome.
you can select star, then you would clear out all those records, but we only care, did the right information get inserted?
Let's look at Post to Co because it's fun. Chicago. Employees. Bam.
Is it the governor that gets paid the most on there? For Chicago?
Aviation commissioner
Aviation
makes it 225,000 a year.
And $4.
Oh,
So
That $4 means a lot to them.
that's all I'm going to go through right now. You guys can take lunch. Or does anybody have any questions up to this point?
Not at this point.
Cool. So, all right. That is it for today.